Studios presents Common Censored. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Common Censored. It's what, Tuesday today? Is that right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday like a motherfucker.
Like a motherfucker, dude. I'm Lord Sterling.
It's your boy Truck Fit Dre.
Truck Fit Dre in the house. I love that name, man. Just gotta say, it's got a nice ring to it. How'd you come up with that?
Truck Fit, it's the name of my company. Basically, a commercial vehicle is probably the most fittest vehicle that you could run on the road because you can run a diesel commercial engine for 3 million miles and it won't stop. So
damn,
truck driver, and then trucks are fit. They're the perfect vehicle for the road. So. And also, it's also truck drivers by the age of 56 have a 67% chance of having heart disease and diabetes. So I feel like personal fitness is very important for truck drivers because it's something that we tend to forget when we're in that truck. You know what I mean? You got to get up and move your legs and do something with physical activity because you're sitting down, 14 hours, 12 hours a day. So.
For sure,
I just thought that the two went together pretty well,
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I have that same problem, like doing my Game of Microphones podcast. I sit here and be editing for 16 hours in a day, all night, to try to get that episode posted. And then sitting here typing to write my books, so I totally understand that sitting in a chair for, forever, basically.
Yeah. And another thing that comes from sitting down a lot is blood clots. A lot of drivers, die from having blood clots that start in their legs and, rise up and into their bloodstream up to the top parts of where the arteries and all the other stuff is in your chest, you know what I mean? So it's very dangerous industry besides for getting in accidents. So, I just think that fitness is very important to not only, the analogy between the engine, the diesel engine and being able to stay on the road for millions of miles, but also for personal fitness. So.
Yeah, solid, dude. I like it. Edward says he's here to hit the like button and move into Rumble, and I see him over on Rumble. Thanks, Ed. We appreciate that. And Mama says that it's coming out that Snoop Dogg was part of the hit on Tupac. If so, that would be interesting because I remember hearing him talking about the interview. Like he had an interview where he was on the highway and he heard the news that Snoop Dogg got killed, and he pulled over, or that Tupac got killed. He pulled over on the side of the highway and cried his eyes out like a baby. So if he was in on it, it would definitely be a plot twist, But just the mere fact that Tupac was killed, it's a reminder to all of us that none of us are Superman. And
I'm trying to. I ain't heard none of that. So I mean, we're gonna stay silent on that until we get some. Yeah, I've not.
Yeah, we'll review it, Mama. We definitely want the link, please.
Shoot that motherfucker like a 4-5. Pow. Shoot it.
Yeah. Hit us with it at _common censored on X. You can, I think our DMs should be open. You should be able to message us there. You can post it in the chat here and we can grab it later. But speaking of Superman, how he had he had laser vision, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not anything that we have, but there's, this is the next best thing. Check this out. I found this guy on Instagram. And he aims these laser beams with his eyes. He's got these glasses, so the lasers are targeted based on the triangulation of what his eyes are looking at. And here is the product in action. This is the next best thing to laser vision like Superman.
Whoa.
Tony Stark type shit.
Damn.
Mirrors.
Oh, you got the laser reflecting off mirrors and shit. Damn.
Yeah. So there's that. That was kind
So
of
I mean, we know Department of Defense is in his inbox right now. They trying to pay billions for that patent right now.
Yeah.
They in his inbox like a motherfucker. Yeah.
Soldiers
yeah,
in the field running around.
Yeah.
Blasting
Give it
stuff
up or
with
we'll
lasers.
kill you. Yeah. Give it up
For
or we're gonna
sure.
kill you. You know how they do. You know how they do. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly how they do.
Whoa. That's dope though.
Totally, right? Pretty crazy. So as we know, Vivek has his own podcast, and
Yeah.
he had Patrick Bet David on as a guest.
Oh, okay.
Most recently,
Okay.
they posted his episode
They switched
yesterday.
places.
Yeah,
They switched
yeah,
places.
dude, they did, because it was like an hour earlier. He was on Patrick Bet David's show, and then they literally
Right.
went right into recording his show. And
Most
they had a
definitely.
bit of this whole conversation is really, really interesting. I highly recommend. Yeah, Edward wants the laser vision. We do. I do too. But yeah, this definitely go to Vivek Ramaswamy's YouTube and check it out. But there's a couple minutes of conversation here that I thought were worth discussing. Let's jump into it.
You know, at least the time I was in the industry, if this market were more competitive, the TV advertising is sort of not really a smart source of expenditure anyway. And the real problem is they've erected barriers to competition by lobbying those governments, by hiring congressmen as their rent a politician.
Interestingly, the competition thing, John D. Rockefeller was quoted as saying, competition is a sin. Yeah, because, as a big mogul, competition, and I'm surprised that on Medium, this article, they actually do a good job of breaking down why competition is a virtue and how it helps. For John D. Rockefeller, competition means more work, more costs without necessarily more profits. Not to say every business person hates competition, some thrive on it, but it's easy to understand why, someone wouldn't want somebody competing against them, so they have to keep making their products better. But for consumers, competition is necessary in order to ensure we're getting the best possible product or service. And that same concept applies to everything. The idea of having 50 states. Originally, it was a federative polity where each state is competing against each other to have the best policies, the best laws, the best principles. Places that have low taxes, people will migrate there. Places that have, make it very good education systems, people will migrate there. And it encourages other states to do better and raises the bar for everybody. So, of course, a monopolist like John D. Rockefeller would want competition eliminated purely for the benefit of his own corporation. Have you heard about the federative polity concept before, about the 50 states?
No, that's some new shit.
It's pretty cool. We'll discuss it sometime in more detail. With show some videos with Tom Woods, who's one of my intellectual heroes, who talks about it. And we have a video that we can show a bit of later on about how he breaks down the Great Depression and the truth about it as well. But let's jump back into Vivek here for a minute, because he's got some pretty good insights.
To be able to get special protections like the product liability for vaccines,
right?
The product liability immunity for vaccine manufacturers, that are just playing by a different set of rules because of the lobbying. So that's what gets me worked up, and that's where I'm more focused from a policy perspective. And then from a pharmaceutical industry perspective, most of these companies can be done far more efficiently. We were talking on your show just a little bit ago about an analogy that I would bring about something that I intend to bring to the U.S. government. And the executive of the U.S. government is the U.S. president. There's millions and millions of federal employees. I would literally take somebody we talked about it over there, the Social Security number. If it ends in an even number, you stay. If it ends in an odd number, you go. Boom, day one, 50% the size of the federal government, the federal bureaucracy.
Imagine that, dude. Non-discriminatory, just slicing. And he talks about how, there are protections where, you can't fire one person individually because of like discrimination type stuff. And there are federal protections against that. and he breaks it down in his interview with Sean Ryan, the former Marine, I believe. But there's no protection. Yeah.
Special services, special forces, and all of that. Yeah, he did everything. Yes, Sean Ryan
really cool show. Amazing interview with Vivek, and Vivek breaks down how like you can fire whole swathes of people and those protections don't apply. So you can just make some arbitrary decision about like social security numbers or like a whole department and chop it without having to deal with that individual discrimination issue. But the idea of just slicing in half I'm gonna need to change my pants after that.
Bureaucracies half as thin, and if that still is too big, which I fear it might be,
talk dirty to me, Vivek.
Social security number. Okay, if it's an odd number, you stay. If it's an even number, you go. Period. Boom. That's a 75% cut. You go to most big pharma companies today. I have no doubt in my mind that the value of those companies and big pharma would go up if a CEO of that company did the same thing. Like that's what we're doing on day one, because otherwise it's too hard to figure out. Like by the time you wrap your arms around it, you think you're actually making the more micro thoughtful decisions with a chisel. And there's a time for a chisel, but there's a time for a chainsaw. I think a lot of these bureaucracies, both in the federal government and even some of the private sector bureaucracies, have become bureaucracies where now is the moment for a chainsaw and not a chisel. You bring the chisel later.
That concept just completely blew my mind. Like, and he's right. A lot of people are looking at these small micromanaging decisions as if like, oh, we got to solve this, we got to solve this, but they're missing the forest through the trees. The tree is already, the bureaucracy is so bloated and so huge. You just have to come at it with a chainsaw to chop that tree in half. And then, once it starts growing again, then you can work on trimming it to the shape you want it, but it's just too big right now. What do you think about that concept?
It sounds like a great concept, but if you want people to buy into you and vote for you, I don't necessarily think that you should be telling that strategy and the angle that you would choose of how to cut agencies or businesses that you think that are too big, because you're kind of alienating like people, like pools of people to vote for you. Like these people who work within these agencies might be saying, okay, well, if he's going to do that, I don't want to lose my job. I'm not going to vote for him. All of those people have family. all those people have family. All of those people have friends, right? So you could basically say that they'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to vote for that guy because he's going to cut the agency in half that employs my friend or my uncle or my aunt or my grandmother or my mother or my father. So I don't think that was a smart idea. Vivek, you smarter than that, bro. That was a dumbass statement. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was
not everybody's an anarcho-capitalist like me. You gotta weigh the how many people are in favor of the chop versus how many people are affected by the chop.
Yeah, bro. I'm not saying that it's not a bad strategy. What I'm saying is, if you want people to vote for you, bro, that wasn't the smartest thing to say. That was kind of fucking stupid.
Yeah, for as smart as you are, to see the reaction for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I appreciate your perspective on that for sure, because you're right. There's like 1 million people or more in the government that work for the bureaucracy and everything, and it would shake things up quite a bit. But on the flip side, it would the way that it would free the markets would create an instant boom of millions of jobs with the lack of regulations that would easily be able to handle the switch of people from government to the private sector. But that's like some advanced type of ripple effect economic theory that a lot of people just wouldn't think of.
Well, I mean, when you fire people, that's how you create competition, right? I mean, look at how Fox did Tucker Carlson, right? They fired Tucker. What did he do? They fired him. They fired his producer, his executive producer. I mean, they went on and started their own thing, right? So what does that do? That opens up the market by creating more competition, and it gives people more choices. So I'm all for freedom of choice. You know what I'm saying? Only when it comes to tennis shoes. Like I don't feel like there's no need for any other tennis shoe than Nike. Like Nike's a shit. I like Adidas for their sweats. I like Pumas sometimes, but like I'm good with just Nike. You know what I'm saying? But that's like one of the only markets that I like as far as like just having one choice is Nike, because I don't really wear any other shoes. You know what I mean? But as far as having freedom of market and different choices, yeah, I feel like that's extremely important. And when you fire people, of course, it's going to create competition. If you cut big corporations in half because they're too big, or if you fire people from government, of course, you're going to have some brilliant minds who are going to come together. They're going to put their resources together, and they're going to create another option within that sector, and they're going to become a competitor, which is better for everybody.
Definitely. And by eliminating those bureaucracies, like the various departments and the regulations that they use to strangle the economy, that in itself will just free businesses to expand and experiment and to compete at a higher level with less cost inhibiting their processes and their operations that will allow like that Argentinian style. You know, remember we saw that chart where the Argentinian economy was banging until 1949 when they had a socialist revolution. Yeah, bring it back to those levels by getting rid of the socialist style regulations that strangle the markets as a whole. You want to listen to like another minute or so of this to just get a little more information?
I want to digest some more of it to see if it starts to make a little bit more sense. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, let's check it out.
And I think that part of what makes the pharmaceutical industry behave like the government is they share something in common. They're both monopolies.
Yeah, to me, the reason why I bring this up specifically with you is you've been in this space before, and you almost think about these big pharma companies. They indirectly own these media companies because these media companies need to take the counsel. It's almost like a podcast or YouTube you watch, right? Okay, if a guy doesn't have money, hasn't made money, he has to take every sponsorship because he has to pay the bills. So he'll do Manscaped.
Yeah.
He'll do anything and everything that anybody.
Manscaped, we are here and ready to accept your offer.
Says, hey, can you promote this? No problem. CBD gambling, no problem, right? Because you got to take it. Versus somebody that's like, no, we're not doing that because that's not part of our brand. I'm only trying, and a part of this concern is from COVID because we were told this is the way to go because the guys were giving the media company money. So they were the mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you prevent that from happening again, what we experienced those 2.5 years during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, I think that competition is a big part of the answer. I mean, because again, if there's one industry that's saying I'm gonna buy and own you, that's the answer because you're effectively tethered to it, then that's one thing. But presumably, if that's a useful mode of advertising, it's going to be a useful mode of advertising for people that have different agendas as well. So I think the real root cause of the COVID cultural censorship that we saw in this country, again, comes back to the relationship between big businesses and government. So pharmaceutical companies have these special blankets of privileges that the government has granted them through lobbying. Big tech is the same thing. I mean, this is part of what stifled dissent during COVID. It wasn't just we own you as a cable network. It's that we own you as a social media company too. Look at what the advertisers tried to pull on Elon, which is by saying that unless you have certain restrictions on speech, we're not going to advertise with you. So this is just a problem as it relates to commerce. But the problem here is when the government gets in on it and starts coming down on the side of saying that if you don't take down or the certain kinds of speech, or if you don't promote the kinds of speech that we, the government, want, then there's going to be consequences for you. I think that's really where the real problems emerged.
So I guess they're just kind of going on a different tangent. We lost the topic we were looking for, unfortunately. But they do talk more about it at some point in this. I watched it last night, and there's a lot of interesting stuff. I just like that quote. There's a time for a chisel. There's a time for a chainsaw. It made me think of Javier Milei, right? Is that the right name?
I believe that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Los zurdos de mierda.
Shit leftards. I had to grab that clip, dude. I couldn't resist. It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the chainsaw, I believe there are certain organizations such as BlackRock. Like, there's no reason why you should own 85% of the fucking S&P. It might even be like 88% or something now at this time, but I remember last time I checked it a few months ago, it was 85%. You know what I mean? So there's no way in hell that you should be that powerful. Like that totally needs to be broken up. And if I became president, I feel like lobbying should be illegal.
Right. That's what like the bulk of this conversation with Vivek. That's what he gets into as his main point, is that lobbying ruins everything. And so like you're dead on with that. And so is he. And everybody needs to listen to this interview to get the full gist.
there's no way that you could have your constituents as the number one priority when somebody's in your pocket telling you, hey, don't vote for that, vote for this. There's no way. That shit is cheating. It's a backdoor to power. It's a backdoor to, you know, the little guy being stepped on. That shit should be illegal. No corporation nor business should be able to donate to, they should not be able to donate to people who are running for Congress or, you know, Supreme Court or whatever the fuck case may be. You should have to be 100% funded by the people. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
the other thing we talked about too, is the super PACs that are just destroying everything. We have the $3,300 limit, but then all of a sudden, because you're making a separate entity, this one entity can donate tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to candidates,
Exactly.
manipulating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He says,
Yeah.
like, basically the candidates don't even give a shit about the individual funding. They're just concentrating on the big money donors and selling out their policy decisions.
I mean, and now say if you do have a big corporation and you got, you know, 100 people that donates to this particular candidate from that corporation, oh well, that's just what it is. But there should be a cap of how many people can put certain amount of donations, and there should be a cap of the amount of the donation that should be able to be, you know, donated to these particular candidates. Like you can't, you shouldn't, like Pepsi Cola or fucking Apple shouldn't be able to give like $4 million to Joe Biden. Like that's bullshit. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
it just shouldn't
a
be possible.
workaround. Shouldn't be possible at all. They should completely eliminate super PACs. It's just a workaround to enable people to donate more than the campaign finance limit. It's blatantly obvious to anybody who's got an IQ over room temperature, you know, that's the case. So I agree.
Hey,
100%.
Hey, we only got one person on YouTube viewing, so we might as well just go ahead and post a link for FluffTube and have them come right on over to Rumble. Hey, we appreciate everybody.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah. So it seems like everybody's already going over to Rumble, which is awesome. That's what we want you to do. FluffTube is not what we are into. So
yeah, it's gross over here on ScrewTube. I feel dirty just being here. All right, so we are shutting off YouTube. I put the link to Rumble in the chat, and we will love to see you guys over there. Thank you to the 9 people who are already joining us on Rumble, and we will welcome our YouTube viewers over there as well. Signing off on YouTube. We will